deep in Auburn territory, and they were deep in Georgia territory, and Auburn was 1 for 3 starting out in the red zone this game. It started out first drive, and then Georgia scored 28 unanswered points. They had the fumble, then they had the
this game was a lot closer than it looked to.
It was until the fourth quarter because Georgia scored 15. It was really only 13-7, and could have gone the other way. TCU, Oklahoma, not even close, 41-17. Baker Mayfield doing Baker Mayfield things. Although
this is the only game I didn't watch any of, by the way.
He wasn't as accurate this game, 15 of 23, but he still passed for 250 yards.
Yeah,
it's a letdown game.
TCU's defense. Well, this is what probably scares Georgia right here, because TCU has the only good and a really good defense it's the only good one in the Big 12. They've shut down teams every year in the Big 12, league dominated by offense, and Oklahoma just blew them out and put 41 on them, and they didn't even score in the fourth quarter. That's what Georgia has to worry about.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. This next game was a lot closer than it actually looks. People would think, well, it was 6 points. Ohio, Wisconsin, 27-21. Yeah, exactly. It was Ohio State. I don't think they should be in. I think if they had dominated Wisconsin, then they could be in. And I think the committee made a great decision in not putting them in.
Okay, let's save that for later. But Wisconsin. I mean, they showed that they're a good team.
They struggled on offense, 19 for 40 on the passing.
Yeah, they played very well on defense, though. But even though they aren't a title caliber team like most of us thought, they did show that they can play with these guys, you know?
Yeah, I think they still are, because they were able to. I mean, I don't think that one loss by one possession defines a team.
Exactly. That's
like the Notre Dame, Georgia, like Ohio State, Penn State. You know, but I feel like those count.
Teams kind of crashed at the end.
Those count way too much. Yeah, they did. Next, actually, this might have been the best game. UCF Memphis 62-55. UCF hanging on.
And Scott Frost is officially gone to Nebraska.
Yes. Earlier he said that he would be offended if Nebraska did not offer him a job. I'm excited to see what he does at Nebraska.
Yeah, and then this was a good game, but I don't think a lot of people watched it. Boise State, who lost the
last game
to Fresno State, played them again and came out with the win.
Could have been another ranked game for Alabama.
And then one quick game that's not on here. Lane Kiffin winning his conference.
FAU. And Florida State played too.
Yeah, but nobody cares about that.
Yeah, they played they dominated though.
ULM.
Yep. Now we're going to look at the rankings that we mentioned a little bit. Now, okay. So
how is UCF not a top 10 team yet? Come on.
Yeah, they're at 12. They should be definitely. But I mean, it's hard to put them in front of Miami. It's hard to put them in front of Wisconsin, Washington.
What do you mean it's hard to put them in front of Miami? Miami last 2 games just looked like.
Yeah, but they still not as bad as Tennessee. But you can't put them in front of Washington or Miami. You can't put them in front of Penn State either.
Done to show that they're better than UCF?
They have won games in the Pac-12.
UCF hasn't lost a single game this whole year.
Yeah, but they're MAC. Granted, they've played 3 ranked teams.
The MAC?
I mean, not the MAC. Sorry, they're
the American Athletic.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then Penn State, a team that nobody really talked about, is finishing as a top 10 team. I thought that was.
That's because they're not in a conference championship and they have 2 losses. You're not gonna make it in. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the top 4. At number 1, who's surprised? Clemson. I don't exactly agree with it, but we'll get to that later. 2nd, Oklahoma. 3rd, Georgia, and 4th, Alabama, sneaking into the rankings. I feel like they deserved it. I think the committee did the right job here.
I think that Alabama is the better team than Ohio State, but I don't see how you can put Ohio State. I don't see how you can put Alabama in, seeing that they didn't even win their own division, and Ohio State won the conference championship against.
This is the same argument of Penn State and Ohio State, except, oh wait, this time the 2-loss team did not beat the 1-loss team.
That's true.
It's pretty clear cut to me.
That's true, but still, I think Ohio State earned it. I think I don't like Ohio State.
They earned it by losing by 31 to Iowa.
That was
State.
It was Iowa.
No, Iowa.
Yeah, that was a terrible game. But
And by losing 16 to Oklahoma.
At the end of the year, I think Ohio State proved themselves. I mean, Alabama is the better team.
Iowa was in November.
Yeah, but Ohio State still made it up. They beat Michigan, and they won their conference title game.
I don't care how many losses you have. One loss by 31 to Iowa should automatically knock you out. I don't care if it's one loss. If Alabama had lost by 31 to an unranked team in their conference, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, as Nick Saban said, which I completely agree with.
I think Nick Saban was referencing last year in the against Clemson though, and how it was just a mistake to put them in last year. Then Wisconsin at 6, Auburn at 7, USC at 8, Penn State at 9, Miami dropping all the way down to 10, Washington 11, UCF at 12, Stanford at 13, Notre Dame at 14, TCU at 15, Michigan State at 16, LSU, who had a pretty decent end of the season, at 17, Washington State at 18, Oklahoma State, then Memphis, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, Mississippi State, NC State, and Boise State.
All right. So basically Fresno State and Boise State just switched spots, but nobody really cares about anything outside of the top 4. I think that Georgia should be number 1 because you can't tell me that there is any team with 1 loss that has done anything better. I mean, look.
Clemson won by 35 last night and gave up 3 garbage points at the end.
Georgia beat every single team that they played.
Yeah, but I mean that Auburn game, it still counts.
Maybe. To me.
And here's the thing: you act like maybe Georgia is better, but Clemson was ahead of them to start. I don't care. The committee can't just flip flop them that quickly. I mean, I wish they could,
at 2,
but they won't do that.
Just have them jump them. Just put them at 2. It's not going to be that bad.
Okay, but you have them at the current rankings, and then you see
and then for the committee, that's good for them because then that avoids having a double SEC national championship.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't know if either team will win, Alabama or Georgia.
Okay. If it's Alabama, Georgia will win. But I think if Georgia plays Clemson, then they'll lose.
I think you're just a little bit biased, but yeah.
No, I'm not biased. I think that, but I don't think that Alabama's going to win, and I think that if Georgia does win, then they're going to lose to Clemson.
Yeah. Okay. So are we gonna do predictions now? Should we do that so we can talk more about this?
Okay. Honestly, I think that's what'll happen. I think it'll be Georgia, Clemson, and Clemson will win.
Okay, Clemson will win. Okay, my prediction is Oklahoma and Clemson.
Of course you do.
And then Clemson wins.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
after what Oklahoma did, that TCU defense, who's very respectable, not just respectable, like elite. And Georgia's pride is in their defense and running and
which is perfect to play one of the best offenses in the country.
Yeah, I know, but still, I think Oklahoma has
Oklahoma
has the best offense in the country, not just one of them.
Okay.
Georgia
has the best defense.
Georgia,
in the country.
okay,
Tell me one team who has a better defense.
Clemson.
No.
Alabama.
You can't say that Alabama has a better defense when they gave up.
How does Clemson not have a better defense?
They completely bombed against Syracuse.
That's one game. Georgia completely bombed against Auburn.
Yeah, but at least they were playing a top 10 opponent who then moved up to number 4?
Clemson shut down Miami, who scored consistently over 30 points this year.
Yeah, but Miami's offense is inconsistent.
I just said they're consistently scored over 30 points this year.
No. The way that Miami plays offense is they run, and hope for the big play. Hope for a breakout run, Rozier to run it big, or a deep pass. They just weren't able to do that in this game.
Yeah, because Clemson's defense.
I'm not saying that Clemson's defense isn't good.
Clemson's defense is the best in America. Then comes Alabama.
That's okay.
Then comes Georgia. I'm giving you the number 3 spot.
Yeah, but
you're not better than Clemson and Alabama, and defensively at least.
I feel like Clemson's overrated defensively anyway.
How? They shut down Louisville, who's a great offense. Louisville is terrible on defense. They shut down Virginia Tech, who is good this year.
They kind of dropped out of it.
No, not really. They're
22. They lost 3. Was it 3 straight games? No, they lost 2 straight games.
At the time, no. Actually, no. They beat Virginia. At the time, Virginia Tech was was a title contender, and so they shut down Louisville. They shut down basically everybody that played but Syracuse. That was a freak game. It's over.
Yeah, but I mean, did you see a deep bomb everywhere, and giving Dungy all the time in the world?
Yeah, it was a terrible game. But you can't rely on them to have a terrible game like that every time. They've had 12 incredible games.
And then Alabama gave up 24 to Mississippi State. They also gave up, 26 or more to Auburn.
We're talking about that like that's a lot. That's a good amount. That's not a ton, okay? That's like the most they've given up all season to anybody.
Okay, I just want to put this in context. Georgia has given up more than 19 points twice this year.
Okay.
And that was against Missouri, who has a great offense.
Yeah, but at the time,
and Auburn, who was on a hot streak.
I still think that Clemson.
Okay, and I also want to bring this up. This is completely unrelated, but if you watched the SEC championship, the refs in that game were the worst I've ever seen in my entire life.
You say that because there were a lot of penalties. I saw all the penalties. They looked.
Did you see the hands to the face on the interception?
Did you not see that? That was
they called a face mask, and he was on the back of the defender, and he was nowhere near his face.
Dude, he wrapped around, that was a clear face mask.
No, it wasn't.
Did we see the same play?
I think we did. It wasn't even anywhere close.
And
they called a pass.
Did you not see that?
And they called a pass interference when he was shoved into the defender.
Yeah, that's called a pick route.
Yeah, and it's also called how Clemson won the national title. And if they don't call it in the title, then they shouldn't call it in the SEC championship.
No, Clemson Hunter Renfrow just outran his guy.
No, it was a pick play.
No, that was not a pick play. Okay, so it's not a pick play if you continue your route through. Georgia just ran in there and stopped. That's a pick play.
He actually bounced off.
It doesn't matter. He didn't continue his route. If he bounced off, no, he didn't.
He ran in, and then it was like a V.
Yeah, but by the time he did that, the pass had already been thrown. Doesn't matter.
So he caught the ball and he continued his route.
He did not continue his route. Okay, this argument's not going to go anywhere.
Anyway, also they missed holding calls all over the place. They called a chop block from 20 yards away, and they had a pass interference called on Auburn, which I thought was unnecessary. They were always getting the calls confused. All over, the refs were just awful in this game, and if you can go and look back, and they were just terrible. So I think Clemson will win it all against Georgia. You think they'll win it all against Oklahoma. Now we're gonna try to maybe come out with a Bowl Mania prediction video.
Against each other, yeah, that should be fun.
Yes.
Should be our next video.
So we're gonna predict who's gonna win all the bowls. So go check that out after you watch this. And as always, but not really as always,
but always, yeah.